installed on, say, in a domestic violence situation, the victim's mobile phone without their knowledge. And so this software can report back their movements, what calls they're making, what messages they're getting. I believe there's even been some that is able to intercept keystrokes and work out, what the person's actually typing. So it's a very nasty piece of spyware installed on a mobile device.
Right. Forgive me, Ariel, but why was this stuff allowed in the first place?
One reason is that a lot of this stuff is marketed as a way for parents to track children. That doesn't sound great on its face, but I know, obviously a lot of parents and people in positions of responsibility for children have taken up tools that let them monitor where their kid is in a certain location. So that's one way that I think people have been able to market and get this kind of tech on these app stores. And I wanted to mention too, obviously spyware is a very particular category, but when I've looked at this issue myself, especially for the use of technology in family violence situations, it's always concerning how technology built for a completely different purpose can be weaponized. These apps that kids use now at school where parents can have a sort of page and teachers upload information about the school day or information about the kids' assignments or pictures of them in the classroom. Even these types of apps, if there's a family violence situation, can be weaponized by one of the partners who can use it to send messages to their partner or track where their child is. And often, because these are private companies for the most part, it can be hard to remove the partner from access to this kind of tech. So almost any bit of technology used in the wrong way can become spyware.
It's worth pointing out, Peter, that both Apple and Google have removed a lot of these apps from their services already, haven't they?
Yeah, they've removed them from their app stores, but on Android, of course, it's possible to side-load apps to load an app onto a phone just by connecting it to a computer. And a lot of people do turn that on because they want to, or turn that ability on because they want to be able to put games or something that aren't in the store. So there is a way around there. Apple, I think, is more secure in that sense, and Apple's also increasing the security in iOS 14, which we'll get in probably September this year, where it shows up indicators to show that, say, the microphone is active. There's also indicators showing if you're being tracked. So it is a bit more easy to see that something strange is going on the device.
One of the other interesting parts of the story, Ariel, is I think this is a demonstration of how Google uses its ad policy as a sort of way of kind of creating a carrot or stick for certain kinds of apps, don't they?
Yeah, so in this case, Google has decided that spyware will no longer be allowed to be advertised on its platform. It's different, I guess, than a full-blown ban, and they did carve out an exception for technology and apps that would allow monitoring of children. So that is a carve-out that seems pretty ripe for exploitation, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But yes, certainly they can use those rules around the App Store and their platform to shape what kind of products are easily available and monetizable.
How do you delineate between something that's designed for child safety and something the functionality, the raw functionality, can still be used to stalk people? How do they delineate between those two ideas, Peter?
I think the answer is got to be that the devices actually tell the user a lot more about what's going on. When you look at the amount of monitoring that apps do, and some of this is coming up in the betas of iOS 14, which is now reporting on things like apps accessing the clipboard, whatever you've last copied. And we've seen a bunch of apps that got into trouble because why are they accessing the clipboard? LinkedIn was one that was found to be accessing whatever you'd copied many times, like every second and things like that, which they say was a bug, but other software may be doing that, and maybe you copy a password or you copy a Bitcoin wallet ID or something, and that could be exfiltrated out to someone without your knowledge. So what's happening, I think, is the operating systems are getting more secure and are telling you. Apple's doing, I think, a good job in this. The new version of Safari is going to report back on all sorts of data, which is being how you're being tracked when you visit a web page, and they're doing the same thing with apps, not just the camera, the phone, location. The key thing there is, though, How do you know you're being stalked? And if the person who's stalking you seems to know a lot about what you're doing, where you're going, who you're talking to, then perhaps it's time to have a look at your phone. But I, for one, wouldn't mind if I went over to an app that wanted to access a clipboard if it actually popped up and said, can I have permission to read the clipboard?
But then does it become a bit like that cookies thing where like people just click through without ever thinking about it? It's kind of,
I know.
it's a bit point. I mean, it's a thing, but it's a bit pointless at the same time.
It's about like end user license agreements when you have to scroll through 50 pages and you just go, yes, I just want to use this thing, say yes to everything. I know, and that's always going to be a balancing act. But I think that there comes a time when you've got to say, I just need to perhaps do a bit of spring cleaning and have a look at the apps that I've given permission to, go through the list and say, why is, and this is a real example, something that purports to be a battery monitor, why is it accessing my microphone? You know, really, do they really need all of these sorts of accesses? And maybe do a bit of spring cleaning and turn them all off.
There is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. You can get it wherever you podcast. We'll see you there. See you guys.
Let's check sport with Louise Benson.